Hello my lovely girls. Today we are back with our fractions lesson in maths. Today we are going to learn to compare the fractions. Compare means we are going to know which is the bigger fraction and which is the smaller fraction, which is the greater fraction and which is the smaller fraction. Okay, we are going to compare them. Now how are we going to do it? We are going to do it with the help of a diagram. I'm sure you are ready with this page. What have you to do? Write the fractions for the shaded part as well as for the unshaded part. Okay. Now, the first one. If you look at the picture carefully, the first part we have a section is colored. Only one section. It is divided into two parts. That means the total number of parts is 2. And which part is colored? Out of these two parts, only one part is colored. So how will I write the fraction of the shaded part? This is how I will write. 1 upon 2. Okay. Now, what is the fraction of the unshaded part? The part that is not colored is also 1 upon 2. Another word for it is a half. That's right. What is another word for it? A half. So we have a half portion which is colored or shaded and a half portion which is unshaded or not colored. We move on to the next one, the B one. Count the number of total parts. 1, 2, 3. That means the down number is 3. Similarly here also the down number is 3. Okay. What is the down number? Down number is the total number of parts. Now, look at it very carefully. There are 3 parts. Okay, now out of these 3 parts, how many parts are colored? Only one part is colored. So, I will write that small one on top of 3. So, 1/3 is colored. Now, how many parts are not colored? 2 parts. 2 upon 3 is not colored. Okay. Now, we move on to the C one. Tell me here, how many parts are colored? How many total parts first? 1, 2, 3, 4 total parts. Here also 4 total parts. Out of which only one part is colored and 3 parts are not colored. Okay? 3 parts are not colored. Take the next one. D. How many number of parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. So, we have 5 in the denominator. Now, tell me, the shaded part, how many parts are shaded? Only 1. And how many not shaded? 4. Okay? Please do it with me. The next one, E. How many total parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total parts. And from these 6 total parts, how many are colored? Only 1. How many not colored? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not colored. Now, look at the colored parts. We have here, 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 here and here. Okay. Now, compare which portion or which fraction is bigger. Okay, this is the biggest fraction. What is that fraction? 1 out of 2. And here, after that comes the next one, which is slightly smaller. This is how many portion? 1 out of 3. Then next comes 1 out of 4. Next comes 1 out of 5. We are doing the shaded part. And next we have 1 out of 6. Correct? Okay. Now, if I had to put it in the ascending order. What is ascending order? Small to big. Okay. Ascending order is small to big. Now, supposing I want to put it in the ascending order, can you tell me which is the ascending order? Which is the smallest piece here? This is the smallest piece. And what is the fraction for it? 1 upon 6. Correct? Then After that, 1 upon 5. After that, 1 upon 4. See, we are doing small to big. Then 1 upon 3. Then next, 1 upon 2. Okay, so we know that 1 upon 6 is the smallest over here, isn't it? It is the smallest. Now, supposing I want to write in the descending order. Now, in order to write in the descending order, that means I have to write the biggest fraction first. Which is the biggest fraction? Look here. The biggest portion, that is 1 upon 2. So, I will write 1 upon 2. Then I will write 1 upon 3. Then I will write 1 upon 4. And then 1 upon 5. And last will be 1 upon 6, which is the smallest. Let's write it. 1 upon 2, then 1 upon 3, then 1 upon 4, 1 upon 5, and then last is 1 upon 6. Now, what did you notice over here? Let me just put I shall take red. Okay, that means this is smaller. Okay, yes, this is smaller, this is smaller, and this is smaller, correct? And here, this is the biggest, then comes the next number, then the next number, and then the next number. So, how will you read it? 1 upon 6 is smaller or lesser than 1 upon 5. Then, 1 upon 5 is lesser than 1 upon 4. 1 upon 4 is lesser than 1 upon 3. And 1 upon 3 is lesser than 1 upon 2. Similarly, here we will say greater than. In the descending order, the biggest number first. So, 1 upon 2 is greater than 1 upon 3. 1 upon 3 is greater than 1 upon 4. 1 upon 4 is greater than 1 upon 5. And 1 upon 5 is greater than 1 upon 6. So, what do you notice? That the smallest denominator is greater. Okay? The smallest denominator is greater. And for the opposite, what will happen? As the denominator increases, okay, as the denominator increases, the fraction becomes smaller. The fraction becomes smaller. As the denominator increases, like how we did over here, you can see the denominator. As it increases, that means we made 2 portions, total number of parts. So, there were 2 portions, here there were 3 portions. What happened when it increased? When the number of portions increased, what happened? The colored portion became smaller. Yes? Again, when the total increased, the color portion became smaller. When the total number of portions increased, the colored portion became smaller. When the number of portions increased, the colored portion became smaller. Correct. Supposing I have a colored paper here. Imagine that it is a cake. Okay. Now, this cake I am going to divide into 4 portions. Okay. When I divide into 4 portions and I give 1 portion to somebody, okay, when I take out 1 portion from 4 portions, how much will I get remaining? I will get 3/4 of the cake remaining with me. But if I take out half of it, what will remain with me? A half will remain with me. And if I take out only a quarter, what will remain out of it? There will be 3/4, like how I showed you earlier. Now, supposing this is my cake, okay? I have taken out a portion, so I have 3/4 remaining. I take out another portion, it becomes half the portion remaining. Is that clear? So, we divide it into portions. In the same way here, I have divided this piece into 2 portions. Correct? Now, when the number is small, when the down number is small, then that is the larger fraction. That is how we compare the fractions. Okay, when we have two fractions and the down number or the denominator is smaller, then that fraction is the bigger fraction. How will you understand that? You look at these two strips. You look at the portion here, colored portion, it is much bigger, isn't it, compared to this? Yes, so this portion is bigger. That means half is bigger than 1 upon 3. Got it? It's very simple. You have to understand it. If you understand it, it becomes very easy for you to do it. Similarly, we learned that as we keep on making the total number of parts bigger or increasing the denominator means the total number of parts. When we increase the total number of parts, the colored portion or the portion taken is lesser. It keeps on decreasing. What does that happen? It keeps on decreasing or it becomes smaller. So this is how we wrote this note. I had given you this note to write. As the denominator increases, say that, as the denominator increases, the fraction becomes smaller. The fraction becomes smaller. You had an example here. See, when the denominator went on increasing, what happened? The fraction became smaller. This fraction became smaller. This fraction became smaller. This fraction became smaller. Okay? And vice versa. When the denominator decreases, then the portions become bigger. Then the portion becomes bigger. So you remember this you will remember automatically. What will you remember? As the denominator increases, denominator means the total number of parts. Okay? As the denominator increases, the fraction becomes smaller. I hope you understood. Bye now. Ta-ta. See you.